Fine, Tia. I'm listening. Oh, sugar. What's your name?
Sophia, Madison, Alex, Nikki.
Hey guys.
Thanks, guys. And now we go over to Kirsty and the old Abbey. Kirsty, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Kirsty. What's your name?
Erin.
What's your name?
Dana.
And your name?
Molly.
And your name?
Sam.
Hi, Brian.
Hi guys.
Now we'll go to Stephen and Ashford. Stephen, have you got with you there today?
Hi, how's it going? I'm Stephen, and this is my good friend
Daniel.
Daniel.
Daniel,
And,
Stephen. How you
All the way
doing?
from Ashford. How's it going, Brian?
Now, Katie, here's our lovely interviewer with you today.
Hi, I'm Katie. We're from Holy Rosary, and this is
Sophia.
Sophia.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Sophia, and then the boys and girls from Garnbane and Waterford aren't there today, but I know they have left a lovely question with their teacher, Adele. So Adele, do you want to give us a big wave? There's Adele.
Great.
Thank you. Now, Darren, could you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Darren, and this is
Isabel.
Isabel.
Hi guys.
Thanks, guys.
Hi.
We will go to Arklow. And Lauren, who's with you guys in Arklow today?
Hi, I'm Lauren. What's your name?
Aiden. Arian.
And we have Caroline in the back.
Hi guys.
Thanks, guys. So Brian has kindly come on board to do an interview with us, and Brian works with Birdwatch Ireland. So Brian, would you like to give us a little recap and details of what it is that you do at Birdwatch Ireland before the guys start asking their questions, please?
Yeah, sure. So Birdwatch Ireland, our job is to protect and look after birds in Ireland. So we want to make sure that they have loads of habitats, that they have loads of food, and that their numbers are doing well. Because if they're doing well, it means the environment is doing really well. So my job in particular is, it's essentially to count birds. So we count birds and we ask people to help us count birds. And we look at all the numbers and we see how are their numbers doing compared to previous years. So are their numbers doing good? Are there more birds than there used to be, or are there fewer birds than there used to be? And what can we do then to change that and help those birds?
Very good. Thank you, Brian. So I know the guys in St. Patrick's have a question to ask, but I think they also have something that they may have made that they want to show you.
Oh,
So
excellent.
guys in St. Patrick's with Tia, do you guys want to ask your question and do you want to show what you've made?
Tell me your birds and tell me your binoculars.
Oh, wow.
Remember?
Guys, they are so cool.
Amazing.
Lovely art. Wow.
Do they, you make them yourselves?
I made them all by themselves.
They're fabulous. guys.
So the binoculars
Now?
Yeah,
are
so
really nice.
What is the most dangerous bird you have ever seen?
So what is the most
Say
dangerous
that again,
bird?
please.
What is the most dangerous
Um,
bird
I-
you've ever seen, Brian?
So I would say it's the peregrine falcon. So they nest on cliffs. There's loads of them in Wicklow, and they're the fastest bird in the world. Because what they do is they hunt, so they fly really, really high, and they fold in their wings and they shoot down and they catch other birds. They eat other birds. So I'd say that's the most dangerous. They have really, really long claws, just like fingers, and they're really, really sharp claws as well.
Wow, guys,
Wow.
that's cool. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now, guys,
course.
with Kirsty in the old Abbey, do you guys want to ask your question?
Yeah.
How many birds is there in Ireland?
How
How
many
many-
types of birds are there in Ireland?
There's around 100, 120 different types of birds. So some of them are here all year round, and some of them are only here in the summer, and some of them are only here in the winter. But if you add them all up together, it's about 120.
Thank you.
Wow, 120, that's a lot of birds, guys. I don't think we realise that there's that many flying
And
around.
there's some that are about this size, and then there's some that are bigger than me. So there's loads of really, really
In
different.
Ireland, they're that big, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. And then guys, Stephen and Daniel and Ashford, do you have a question?
What is the rarest bird you ever seen?
The rarest bird I've ever seen. So I would say certainly one of the rarest birds would be the curlew. So they used to breed, they used to nest all over Ireland, but unfortunately their habitat is gone. So there's very, very few of them left and their numbers are going down. So there's only about 100 nesting in Ireland at the moment, so they're pretty rare.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Thanks.
And Katie and Sophia, what have you guys got to ask?
Hi, Brian.
Where is your favorite place to bird watch in Ireland?
Oh, well, the great thing about birds is there's birds absolutely everywhere, and no matter where you go. I would say one of my favorite places is Bull Island in Dublin. So it's just along the coast, and there's a beach there, and there's loads of water. And at the moment, there's about 30,000 water birds there.
Wow.
They'll be here till the end of March, and then they'll all start migrating up to the Arctic Circle, which is where they nest.
Amazing. Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you.
It's really cool. And Adele, do you want to ask the question for the guys from Waterford?
Yeah, the boys and girls would like to know, what do you need to be a bird watcher?
You don't need anything. You just need to pay attention, look up in the trees, look at the feeders, and just start, I suppose, looking at the birds, thinking about the birds, and doing your best to identify them. So it's really, really handy if you can have binoculars. It's really handy if you can put out some bird feeders. And it's really handy if you have a big poster, maybe with loads of birds on it, or a bird book. But really, you just need to pay attention. And if there's a bird that you see that you don't recognize, maybe ask someone else who can give you a hand and help you identify it.
Thanks, Brian.
And the guys with Darren in the Gael School, would you guys like to ask Brian your question? We take a turn there. There we go.
How long does it take for an egg to hatch?
It varies. So for something like a blue tit, which is a really common bird in gardens, they're about this size, they weigh about 10 grams. It takes kind of 10 to 12 days for them. But if you have something like a big swan or a big eagle, it could take 2 months for that egg to hatch.
Wow.
So the small birds, their egg hatch really in a kind of a week or two, and then the big birds, it's much, much longer.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Now, guys in Arklow, do you guys have a question that you'd like to ask Brian?
Yeah.
Get your question ready.
How long can a bird fly before they feel tired?
So there's a bird called the swift, and that bird can fly for 11 months of the year without landing ever. So it only ever lands when it needs to nest, because obviously you need to land, lay your eggs, and look after the eggs. But otherwise, it spends all of its time, all day, all night, flying in the air. So 11 months.
Wow. Amazing, guys. And Jade from Kilcommon, would you like to ask Brian a question from the guys? Because I know they're not there today.
Is it more interesting to watch birds of prey or just normal birds going about their activities for the day?
Birds of prey are really, really cool. I got interested in birds by looking at birds of prey, but they can be really hard to find. So I think really just going out, I think going to a wetland where there's loads of swans, loads of geese, loads of ducks, there's loads of noise, you know, and they look really, really cool as they move across the sky. So I think there's probably more to be enjoyed with all the other birds. And even just, I have all my bird feeders set out here, you know, they get up to some really, really interesting stuff. The more you watch them, you know, the more you see and you realize how cool they are.
Very good. Thanks, Brian. So then, Brian, I suppose what another question we'd like to ask is, how can we care for the birds that are locally around our homes or our gardens or where we live? What would you say are the tips for the guys at home that they could do to take care of some of the birds?
So at the moment it's quite cold because we're coming into spring, but it's still quite cold. It'll be cold until the summer. So I think putting a bird feeder in your garden, it's really, really easy, and you'll see loads and loads of birds that'll come to it very quickly. And that kind of gives them a helping hand to get through the cold months and make sure they survive so that they can nest. The other thing is this is the perfect time of year to put a nest box in your garden. So again, they're really, really easy to find. You can buy them, you can get some, make them for you, put it out in your garden, and it means in the spring, you'll have little birds nesting in your garden, and you'll see them coming and going the whole time, and then you'll see the young birds when they come out of the nest. So I think there are two really easy things you can do that really make a difference.
Very good. And then I know that there's a lot of ways to see the birds, for the guys to spot the birds, but what would you recommend? Do they need binoculars, or do you think they should just sit out in their garden, or what way would all the guys at home be able to have a look and bird watch themselves?
I think if you sit inside and just look out your window at your garden, especially if you've got feeders, I think that's a really, really good way, because the birds don't know you're there. So they'll go about their business and you'll be able to watch them and see what they get up to. The other thing is, if you're outside in the woods or just out for a walk somewhere, just sit down and try and stay still and stay quiet, and you'll be surprised the birds come quite close and you'll be able to see them and hear them as well. So it's great to have binoculars. You don't really need them. You just need to kind of sit with some patience and watch.
Very good, Brian. So Brian, are there any more tips and tricks that you know that we should all know, to help that the guys know how to keep the birds safe, or what to do with them if they found one that has hurt themselves, or they tend to fly into windows? I know a lot here in my house, so they tend to get an awful bang. So what would you recommend anyone should do?
If you find a bird like that that's on the ground, and if you're able to pick it up, that means there's something wrong with that bird. So the best thing to do is to put it in a box and maybe put a towel over the box, and then you want to call a vet or a wildlife expert, and they'll be able to advise you as to what to do.
Very good. And I know you had mentioned to me before, Brian, that a lot of your work is weather depending. So what does that mean for you guys, for you to go to work? What is the ideal kind of weather for you to get out and about and do all your bird watching and take an account of all the birds?
So I have to go out and I have to look for the birds. I have to listen for the birds. I have to try and count all the birds. If I try and do that on a really windy, wet day, all of the birds are going to be sitting tight, sitting in the trees, sitting in the hedgerows, and trying to avoid all that horrible weather. So really, I'm looking for a nice, calm day where there isn't much wind, isn't much rain, and that's when you'll hear the birds the best, and you'll see them going about their business like normal. Just like people, you don't want to go out to the shops, you don't want to go for a walk downtown when it's absolutely lashing rain or anything like that.
No, this is very true. Thank you, Brian. And I see Lorna has jumped on from Cork. Lorna, would you like to ask the question for the guys from Cork, please? If you can unmute yourself. We're all a bit technically challenged sometimes, Brian, with Zoom these days.
I know the feeling.
Sorry, I got caught in the rain.
You're there, Lorna. Ask.
Just the kids, they were kind of more so they're very interested in making personal like bird feeders or making feed in general for the birds here in the school. We did a project a few weeks back when we made them, but if you have any like advice on stuff like that, please.
Depends what you kind of want to do, but making fat balls is really, really fun. You can really get your hands dirty, and the birds absolutely love it at this time of year. So you kind of have to get blocks of fat, get loads of seeds, get loads of raisins and stuff like that, and just literally squash it up in your hands, and you can put it into a yogurt pot or something like that, and the birds absolutely love that. So that's a really good one.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So Brian, you would recommend then making fat balls from home. I know here we feed them like the little peanut things.
Yeah, they love that, yeah.
They absolutely love that. And we've had snow here the past couple of weekends. So every time I look out the window, they've eaten every single nut out of the bird feeder. So they're obviously preparing for the cold weather.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference. When it's really cold, you'll see way more birds in your garden. I usually have one or two blackbirds kind of hopping around my garden during the day. And during that last cold spell, I had 8 or 9 hopping around the place. So, gardens can be really important for birds, really good place to see birds, but especially that cold weather is when you really need to look after them. Yeah. Another thing actually is to put out a little dish with some water, because birds need to drink water every day. So they really enjoy that. It's something really simple and easy you can do.
Okay, well, that's something we need to remember. I think we focus on feeding them so much that we forget maybe that they also need to have a drink.
Absolutely, you need to wash it down, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So guys, does anybody any more questions to ask Brian? Anyone, do you want to put your hands up if you have another question? Or is everyone's questions being asked, I think, or answered even, for want of better words? Yeah. Brian, is there anything else that you'd like to say, or have you anything else, tips to say for the guys to keep the birds safe and happy during this miserable weather?
I think all those, if you do all those little tips, I think you'll have a great time. I said the one thing about birds is it's great that no matter where you are, no matter how bored you are, you can always look around and see some birds. And that, it could be really, really interesting to see what they get up to. So
That's
the
very
more you watch birds, the more you'll get out of it, And if anyone has any questions at any later stage, you can always drop me an email or something.
fantastic, Brian. That's great. So guys, if everybody, what we normally do then at the end, Brian, is we normally give a big slán all together to thank you so much for giving us your time and answering all your questions. And we know you're very busy. So guys, do you all want to unmute yourself and we'll do a big slán to Brian? Wait for everyone to unmute.
Hello.
Now, guys, are we all ready? When we count to 3 and for a big slán, are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, Brian, for giving us time.
No problem. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.